I was always very hands-on and just right alongside of, my mom and doing everything. And she would can a ton and we butchered chickens and processed meat. And, so a lot of that comes from my childhood. But of course, um, I also have to do my fair share of research. But I also think that, really anybody can do anything these days. There's so much information out there, and I can go to, 5 different platforms and watch a million different videos of different people doing the same thing. So if you really want to learn to do something these days, there's really no reason that you can't. I think that's why like I get so excited to try new things, because it's like there's just a world of possibilities out there, and it's all right there at your fingertips. So I'm like, you might as well take advantage of it.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy, out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana, left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started FarmHopLife. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and there will be.
This is the Farm Hop Life podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRozier. Tonight, my guest is Jess of Living Tiny Homestead on TikTok, where she promotes living simply and within your means, just ditching the idea of needing expensive things to be happy. How's it going tonight?
Oh, great. Wonderful. I have kind of the dream life, so nothing that I can complain about out here. Besides the cold front that's coming in, give me a minute to complain about that.
Do you ever get stressed about anything?
Um, Honestly, my husband being on the road so much is incredibly stressful. Homeschooling 4 kids and, doing the off-grid thing, dishes outside and the outhouse. And it is a lot, but all working towards that end goal, so I'm just kind of doing my part for now until he can be home more.
Sure. That's interesting that you bring up what he does for work now, because that's kind of leads into like the setup. So a little bit of background on you. You said that you both lost your jobs to COVID and you had to, or you chose to downsize like dramatically. So what did you guys do for work prior?
So we were actually both in the restaurant industry. We met at a Chili's, 12 or gosh, 12, 12 years ago. And yeah, he had actually been at that Chili's for 22 years, and I had been there for almost 10 years. And it just overnight, our jobs were just gone. It was the craziest thing.
Dang.
So, yeah. So we actually, what had started was that we had come to visit my mom's because we had never had time off work. And since we were without jobs, we came out to visit, and it kind of just presented itself as an opportunity, which she had been offering for us to move out here for years. She wanted us out here. So when we both lost our jobs, and, my husband had been renting that house for 15 years. And so he was, on really good terms with the landlord and didn't want him to lose money. And, so when we knew we wouldn't be able to pay rent, and we didn't know for how long, it was
Right.
just, we have no idea when you guys will be back, so we wanted to do right by him as well. So it just ended up being a good opportunity to kind of dive into something that we had really wanted to do for a long time anyway.
Gotcha. So you guys were renting a house, and I mean, the future was completely unknown. Makes sense. And so you ended up moving to your mom's property.
Yeah, it so we had always wanted to do something similar, but we were kind of comfortable with our jobs there. We didn't make great money, and we're kind of with all our bills, we're just kind of scraping by. But when you've been at a place that long, it's kind of holding us there. And really, at that point, we couldn't afford it anyway. So when we lost our jobs and we knew that the unemployment was going to be coming in and that stimulus was going to be coming in, we decided to, really put it to good use to totally just downsize and totally change how we were living.
And so we haven't even told anybody listening what the downsize is. So tell us your current living situation.
So we have a 12 by 32 lofted barn shed that we have kind of converted into a little tiny house. Still off grid for the most part. We have electricity, but that is it. Other than that, we've got an outside sink and a well and an outhouse and a building that will be a bathhouse, hopefully before too long. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, we're just kind of saving and adding on as we can until it's done, however long that may take.
That's awesome. So how long between So I've had someone that lived in a tiny house or lives in a tiny house on before, but never a shed, and never like a really I wouldn't even call it a shed anymore. It's just a home now, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So from the time you gave up renting the house, how long until you guys did the shed thing?
Oh, immediately. So we were here in Tennessee and went to just look at the sheds because we had driven by like a roadside place. And we ended up finding out that it would only be like $350 to get the thing in our name and get it put on the land. And that was really what we needed was a roof, because, camping, hello, we love it. It was warm. So that was the most important thing was just, my mom let us stay here for a couple of weeks while we waited for the shed to get delivered. But for the most part, it was like immediately we were in that shed. So I would say it was probably a couple days after they moved it in that we were like fully living in it.
Nice. So really the turnaround is only like a couple of weeks then from the house to the shed.
It was, yeah, I would say what really, because to me, those sheds as they are not really livable as far as like the second story loft is so small.
Yeah, it's very bare bones for sure.
Yeah. So really what made the difference was my husband raising the roof up. I don't know if you saw, like he did the addition upstairs, just like a 4 foot
headroom.
It makes it to where you can stand up and move around. And so to me, that was what made it more like a house and less like a shed. And that took him he did it by himself. That took him probably 2 or 3 weeks after the shed was delivered. And it was like we were living in it and the roof was totally off some nights. And, we definitely got rained on and had a good laugh about that. And so it's just been it's just been, the best adventure anybody could want, it's been very cool.
I suppose after all of that, not a whole lot would get you stressed after losing your jobs and then giving up the house you've been in for the last 15 years. And then now this and getting rained on and
it was
whatever. It's all good.
Such a whirlwind. Like it's you hear about people just picking up and doing it, and it was like we decided we were going to do it, and then like a couple weeks later we did it. It was crazy.
That's pretty great, man. That's I was just trying to think. It's like you've done tours. You've done quite a few tours of your place.
Mhm.
And we'll definitely have links to that down below. But so did you guys do any gardening or any homestead stuff at your house prior to?
So yeah, so I was raised on a farm my entire life. Like
Oh, cool.
it's something that's always kind of just been in my blood. I grew up like on an actual farm, horses and cows, and then when I got a little older we had, more of a homestead, but with, pigs and goats and chickens. And my mom did just have the most magnificent garden that you've ever seen. Like we had just the most beautiful little farm growing up. It was perfect. And then after high school, kind of got out of the country and found myself stuck in the city, and then had a good reason to be stuck there because I met my husband, and luckily, that was something that he kind of wanted to do as well. So I knew that I would get back to it someday. And even there where we were in the city, we had a pretty good sized garden, so we did what we could there where we were, but it was definitely not at all what we really wanted to do.
Sure. And so what you have going on now is what you want to be doing. That's where you want it to be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We just both feel like it's most natural for us to be kind of in the homestead setting and growing more of our own food and kind of living a more natural lifestyle. And we just kind of want to get back to the root of things,
Right.
So
Yeah, go back to basics.
yeah, absolutely.
What does your husband do now for work?
He's a truck driver. He's an over the road driver, so he's only home 4 days a month. It's rough right now, but we're hoping to get him home within the next couple of years. So finish getting everything
Sure.
paid off and get the house done, and then hopefully he can spend some time at home with us.
Right.
So
Yeah, that would be, man, I can't imagine only being home 4 days a month. Like, I don't even like it when I only get to see my kids like maybe 2 hours a day. Like, this sucks. So,
yeah, no, I hate it, and it's really hard for him, but it's just, I think it's just the fastest way to get to the end goal. We're trying to speed it
sure.
up as much as we can. And as hard as it is for me, I try to remind myself that, I at least get to be here with the kids and not missing things. And, he's got the real tough gig out there. So definitely grateful for that. He's out there busting his booty for us.
Yeah, that's tough. That's got to be a hard thing for a dad. Like, I just can't imagine it. Um, I actually I had a job interview a couple of weeks ago, and it would have taken me away from the home more, but there was the possibility of being like bringing my family with, and I'm actually glad I didn't get it because it would have taken me away, and it would have been like a really nice boost in pay and all these other benefits. But the time away from my kids, I mean, mine are little, like 2.5 and 4, almost 5 months old. So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they're very
You got
little.
babies.
Yes, I do. I do have little babies.
Yeah,
So
and we're very much like, especially me, if it were up to me, like he could quit the job today and I'd be perfectly happy. We could live in a tent and I'd be good. But really it's what it's about is, yeah, he's away a lot more now, but even if he went back to the normal schedule, being home every weekend, he would have to do that for years more. Whereas if
sure,
he does this for just a short amount of time, then we can have him home way more than either scenario. So it's suffering a little bit now to have a big reward, here in hopefully
sure,
in under 2 years. So light at the end of the tunnel if everything goes how we planned.
gotcha. Does that also relate to your other thing that you do? You being a surrogate? Or what's
Not,
the this is not me like trying to,
no, no, that's
apologize if that comes off like gotcha, no, but like
no, not at all. No, that's not
okay,
how I took it at all. I'm just trying to think
good,
of how
good.
to articulate. Honestly, no, because I started the surrogacy journey before this was even like close.
Got it.
Like
Okay.
gosh, I started Arkansas was where we used to live. I started very first started the surrogacy journey probably 7 years ago.
Oh wow.
And yeah, but living in Arkansas, like the laws there are just not surrogacy friendly. So
Really? Like
I
what?
was,
I've never talked to anybody that's been a surrogate, so I'm super curious about the whole, like all of it.
so it's basically like the state makes it very messy for the actual parents of the baby because in that state, whoever births the child, no matter, whose genetic baby it is the legal parent of that child. So it can be messy in the courts trying to like actually adopt because it has to be a full adoption
Weird.
there. Yeah. So and actually it's actually illegal to be paid for surrogacy in some states here. And a lot of countries you can't. You can do it for free, but you can't be paid for it at all.
Hmm.
So it's different everywhere, but some states are definitely more surrogacy friendly. So when I moved here to Tennessee, I decided to kind of try the process again here in Tennessee and ended up just finding the most perfect couple. And I met them in 2020, matched with them in like a surrogacy group on Facebook.
Oh,
And we started the whole process and then COVID happened, and they had to basically stop. And for me, I thought that was kind of just the end of my journey. I was at the point where I was like, if it doesn't work out this time, it was probably just not in the cards.
sure.
Well, when it didn't work out with them, I kind of just called that good, but we kind of stayed friends and got to know each other. And then last year, she reached out again and said they were ready and that there's nobody else that they would want. And it was
Hmm.
kind of an easy. Honestly, if it was anybody else, I probably would have said no. But for them, I was like, all right, definitely.
Sure.
By then I wanted it for them so bad because I felt like at least the mom, I don't speak to the dad directly, but I
Sure.
always kept touch with the intended mom and we became friends. And so it was an easy decision for me. So
How did you get into being like even wanting to be a surrogate? What you said 7 years ago? Do you just like being pregnant? Like you just like is it easy for you? Or because a
yeah,
lot of people
exactly.
not fun. Day one,
Yeah.
not fun.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. I love being pregnant and it sounds crazy, but like I had home births with my last two. And so like I loved the whole childbirth experience and thought it was so empowering. But after my last one, before I had my fourth, I probably would have had at least one more. But then I had my fourth, bless his heart, and I think he successfully birth controlled me for the rest of my life. So, so I figure, I get to experience the pregnancy part and not have to deal with the baby after. So, and it's great that we have become friends because I know that I'll get to, watch that baby grow and, maybe be a distant auntie or something.
Sure.
So.
Um, so I'm sorry if I missed it. Have you been a surrogate before this couple, or this is the one and only?
No, this is the only. So I had started the process with an agency, but never matched. So
Gotcha.
this is
Okay.
the first couple that I've actually like started and gone through the process with.
And you found them on your own through the Facebook group?
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's
there's
not
a
even
group.
an agency involved?
No, I decided to not use an agency because they charge the intended parents so much money, like it's highway robbery, in my opinion. Like it's, and
Sure.
they don't do much. So for me, they're already having to pay so much, for embryos and transfers and traveling and all of that stuff, plus paying me. I thought if I could, find somebody that I felt comfortable with and could save them the money, then I definitely wanted to go that route. So, and it worked out great because it has just, um, she's very knowledgeable about the process. So I haven't had to do anything, and she's covered every little thing, and everything's just taken care of. So it's been amazing.
Do you feel comfortable giving people an update on the process so far?
Yeah, so we had our first embryo transfer attempt back in May, and that failed. So we went back. I went back to Hawaii for another attempt back in the beginning of October, and unfortunately, that pregnancy did not progress either. So they are now, I think they're going to have some new embryos made, and we do plan on trying one more time. I really would try however many times they want me to try, but I also, if the third attempt doesn't take, I would understand them, wanting to find somebody else, or, just, seeing if there's another option they want to pursue. So it's all legal and contracted, and so but I'm kind of leaving it up to her. If she decides she wants to try more than we're contracted to, then I definitely will.
Sure. Sure. That's a hard thing. What I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of, a large variety of reasons, but any guesses why the embryo failed the last two times?
So everybody is pretty sure and has been very reassuring that it's most likely just not strong embryos.
Mm,
They're untested embryos, which means they did not undergo like the testing to ensure that they were like genetically strong, that a
gotcha.
lot of people do have done. So everything they said looked just perfect on my end. So like my fertility doctor there in Hawaii told me even before that last transfer, she said, I don't want you to take it personally if this doesn't take, because we have a suspicion that the embryos just might not be as strong as we want. So, and the fact that at least one of them did implant, but just didn't grow like it was supposed to, makes me think that that was most likely just something genetically not quite right in there. Usually is the case for a chemical pregnancy and surrogacy.
Do you think they're going to have the embryos tested the next time, or?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know. And honestly, like I wasn't even sure of their reasoning for not having them tested last time. Like I didn't really ask. Um, so I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm just, she's so on top of everything, so I just kind of, am there when I need to be there, and go to my appointments, and I'm still learning. Like I'm asking questions constantly, and thank goodness she
Sure.
knows what's up, because like, I'm still very much learning. It's very complicated.
I bet. I bet. I bet they must love your lifestyle. Just if once you guys like met and you guys kind of did almost like a first date kind of thing, like, oh, what
Yeah,
it is like you do and blah blah blah, and like, oh yeah, we grow a bunch of our own food and we live out in the
yeah,
woods. And like, what? Really? That's awesome. We get to have our baby like grow in like this super healthy
right.
environment.
Yeah, that was actually one thing that really, really drew me to them. I actually talked to her, gosh, so how it works in that group is if you're a surrogate, like looking to match with somebody, you can just post like a little bit about yourself. And I posted some of like my pictures for my home births and stuff. And I ended up having probably 20 or more couples reach out to me. And talked with each of them for a while, and she was the very first person that I had talked to, and I ended up just, I really clicked with her, and that was one reason why, was that not a lot of people are super comfortable with, that off-grid kind of lifestyle, because a lot of people just aren't educated on it, like, I don't know if you see any of the comments I get. It's proof that a lot of people are not educated on it. I get a lot of really hateful and just ignorant comments, and so
about being off grid, just
oh
in general,
yeah,
or being off grid and pregnant.
Well, I haven't had anything about being off grid and pregnant, but just in general, people think that it's like dangerous to use a compost toilet, and it's ridiculous. People are just very uneducated, and I feel like that's, by design. But that's a whole nother story. But she was always very, very appreciative, and really sees the value in what we're doing. So that was one of the things that really, really drew me to her. And she rides horses, so that's like, a big thing too. It sounds so silly, but I'm a horse girl at heart.
I knew there was something off about you. I just knew it.
Oh, that must be it.
Last question about the surrogacy. Would you, let's say it was successful and you went all the way to term, would you deliver in Tennessee or Hawaii?
I would actually have to deliver in Hawaii. So it's kind of a unique situation where if we do get that far, I will actually probably have to spend like 6 weeks or so in Hawaii towards the end of the pregnancy. Yeah, so that will be interesting, with the homestead, and my husband will have to take some time off work, and so we'll adjust and all of that. But yeah, that's the plan. So I'll have to fly out probably a few weeks before the due date and play it by ear. So it'll be wild.
Hope the next one takes. I really do.
I really do too. I just don't know what else I can do at this point. It's a very weird feeling, because obviously I have 4 kids, so I've never had any experience with having a hard time getting pregnant, so, and when people talk about surrogacy, you don't hear about the failed transfers, like you see the happy emotional, like telling them and, handing the baby over after the delivery. You don't hear about, the surrogates that normally it's very normal for them not to take on the first, and pretty common even on the second time, so it's a lot tougher and more kind of finicky process than people think. And it is not easy. Like it pays pretty good, but there's a reason for that. And like I mentioned earlier, some places you can't be paid for it. I personally probably would not be able to do it for free, especially after going through a couple of cycles. Like it's work. It's work, and it's like I'm still so sore from all of those shots, and it's been weeks since I stopped those shots. Like even just walking around, like I'm still just in pain. Like people don't realize, what a toll it really takes. It really takes a toll. So, and I'm just now feeling kind of normal from the hormones leaving my body, and it's like, it's a big thing. So I might have considered it before going through it. But even after that first cycle, I was like, I cannot ever do it for free. It's a lot.
That's a good point. I guess obviously I haven't talked to anybody that's been a surrogate, so I wouldn't have thought about all the work that you just don't hear about. All the extras. Just being regular pregnant, all the prenatals and appointments and just all of it. So
yeah, it's a lot. And supplements and prescriptions, and I'm talking like 20 pills a day that you like have to take on time, like 2 shots a day. you're running out of areas that aren't big, huge bruises like on your hips. And like it's not for the faint of heart. There's a reason surrogates get paid most of the time, because it's a full on bodily sacrifice. It's a lot.
It sounds like it. Just like you're basically just like punishing yourself every day. It sounds like
Yeah, it really
like,
is. But
you
man,
hate needles? Here you go. You hate taking a bunch of pills? Here you go.
yep,
You hate whatever.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. But man, I want it for them so bad. So I'm like, in my gut, I'm like dreading having to do it again. Like I cried because I'm just like, I wanted this to be my last round of shots and meds and like all of the things. Like I was just so like, it's exhausting. So just really hoping to have a lot better luck next time.
let's hope.
Yeah.
So the food that you eat to feed yourself and your family and eventually another baby, what motivates you to grow your own food?
Oh gosh, the fact that most of our food that's available in stores is poison. It's just once you're really educated on, the fact that there's thousands of ingredients in our food and in our skincare products and in our shampoos and soaps and laundry detergents that are literally banned in other countries because they're absolutely proven to cause cancer and all of these things, so it's just like, when you realize that, the FDA is putting that stuff on the shelves, knowing that it's killing us, but also knowing that they're, in bed with big pharma. So they're basically creating customers,
Right.
So it's like, I don't want to feed that stuff to my family. I'd much rather have, at least some control over, and I'm not so naive to think that we'll never have to buy stuff from the store. I'm sure we will always have to buy some things from the store. But if we can cut most of that toxic stuff out, I'm gonna do it. So we're not where we want to be yet, but slowly, like that's where we want to be. Because you just can't deny like the rising cancer rates and mental health and autoimmune disorders and chronic illnesses and allergies. Like it's just, the list goes on, and it just doesn't add up. We're supposedly supposed to have one of the greatest medical systems in the world, and yet we're one of the most unhealthy populations of people ever. So
Right.
it walks like a duck and talks like a duck. So I think it's just, you almost have to these days be really aware of everything. So there's not a lot of food left in the food,
Yeah, it's all pumped full of whatever and not a whole lot of nutrients in there.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that's super easy to explain to people, like show them, is strawberries. Everyone loves strawberries. I don't know anybody that really doesn't love a strawberry. And like, just look at the tops of strawberries. Like, why are they white at the store versus no white when you grow them in your garden and like when you cut them in half? Well, it's because from what I've seen or heard, like they wrap them in nitrogen or something. They treat them with nitrogen. So they pick them white and then they nitrogen treat them on the way to the grocery store so that they ripen by the time they get to the store, essentially. And so that's why they basically look like trash when you cut them open and eat them in comparison to homegrown strawberries.
Yeah, can't even have real strawberries, dang it. Yeah. No, it's the same though. It's the same with meat from the store versus like homegrown meat. The difference in, like we butchered chickens last year and it's just like it's totally different,
What kind of stuff are you doing right now? So like, what kind of garden do you have? Do you make anything inside the home like soap or bread? And do you have any other livestock?
So garden season's kind of winded down, and I had a lot of plans for like planting a lot of fall things, but then that trip to Hawaii and the transfer kind of happened, and you have to take it easy for a few weeks after that. So I couldn't do a lot of like bending and gardening and shoveling and things. So that fall garden I wanted to plant kind of had to go by the wayside. So not a lot to do right now as far as growing things. So I have been shifting a lot more towards baking and bread making, and I love baking and making pretty yummy things. So kind of dabbling in making cakes too, decorating, So I crochet a lot in the winter when there's not as much to do outside. So I've got a few little things that I like to kind of dabble in when I can't be outside in the garden. It's not preferred. I definitely think would rather have the warm weather that I can be outside doing things, but if I have to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The warm weather is better. Even cool weather is fine. I forgot to, or I completely neglected the crap out of my garden this year. I mean, every little thing I should have done, I basically didn't do. And so right now, my tomatoes are still outside with snow on them.
That's so funny.
So, what are you going to do?
I actually picked a couple of red tomatoes yesterday. I couldn't believe it. Like it got a little bit cold for us, but then we've been back up into the 80s. So I've got probably 20 jalapenos on the plant and tomatoes still turning red. I can't believe it. That's going to be over though, because we're like, it's supposed to get cold now, but that's funny. I'm just imagining your tomatoes covered in snow. They're not faring well, I bet, out there.
Probably not. I should go. I got like this funky greenhouse cover thingy that I built. It was just like a prototype that I came up with. Instead of like fencing the deer out of the garden, I fenced the garden in more or less, and then have like like I bought like greenhouse plastic to cover it so it would kind of hold more heat in like when we were starting to get cooler weather, not necessarily freezing temperatures,
right?
Because it's really just not that sealed up and whatnot. But at the very least, it's supposed to keep the snow off. But then we got like 70-mile-an-hour winds out of nowhere and kind of shredded it. So the snow came in and got the tomatoes. But I don't know. I'm curious what's out there. I'll just give them to the chickens.
Right. You said Montana, right? You're in Montana.
Yep. Western Montana. Yep.
Is it like Montana, like I'm used to seeing, like it looks like a calendar? Like, does it look real? Is it like insanely gorgeous there?
It's pretty great. Yeah. Off the deck, like the sunrises, or sorry, the sunsets behind the mountains where we are. And so like it just sends out like these golden beams of like just golden rays out from behind the mountains and just like lights up the sky. It's pretty great.
Crazy. I follow a girl that lives, and I don't know what part, Alpine Soul, but that's what her videos are what I think of when I hear Montana, because it's like I watch her videos and I refuse to believe that it's real until I go see it in person, because like a deer walks up to her like in the snow and I'm like, I refuse, I need to go. I've got to see it in person, because I'm not going to believe it unless I see it. But yeah, her stuff is like exactly what I think of when I think Montana.
So in your notes here, you have down waterglassing. So our mutual friend Jeremy on TikTok, his name is Dewey Like Donuts.
Yes,
we talked about waterglassing eggs, and I've heard that if you waterglass eggs, they should store for a long time. And he has his eggs. He tried one that was like 18 months old, or he cracked it or something like that, and it was like rancid. So is that too long? Is 18 months too long? Are they supposed to only go for like a year, or what's the scoop there?
So some people say that they can last like 18 months up to like even 24 months, but there's kind of a lot of factors that can play into it, you know. He may have had like one egg that had like a microscopic crack in it that he didn't see, you know, that can ruin the entire jar. He could have just bumped it or moved it a little bit too hard. The shells get super weak as they sit. So that could have caused a crack that made them go rancid. You know, there's could have been some dirt or something on one of the eggshells that he didn't see. There's a lot of things that
Okay.
you know, can kind of it's finicky if you're not super careful about you know, using fresh eggs that are super clean and not cracked. You know, if anything kind of gets by you. I actually have a jar that I just noticed has one that cracked, and I think that it just probably had a crack in it before I even put it in, and I just didn't see it. So
Gotcha.
normally, yes,
Whole batch then?
I actually, that's why I haven't thrown the jar out yet, because that one is at the bottom of the jar. So I'm gonna test some of the ones at the top to
Okay.
see if like they still look fine. So I'm gonna see. But theoretically, yes, if everything, you know, is aligned perfectly and nothing in there, you know, goes wrong, they should last for 18, even 24 months if you get lucky. So yeah,
Nice.
he must have something a little off.
Um, so you have chickens then as well?
Yeah, I have chickens and ducks.
Just laying hens, or
Um,
you did meat birds last year?
so I did not actually intentionally do meat birds, but I am going to next year because I actually have done them before, so I'm pretty familiar with the process. Um, so I got a bunch of straight run chicks from Tractor Supply, and a few of them ended up being roosters. And I had no qualms with letting them stay, like I was going to let them stay. But my oldest rooster is a little bit crippled, and they were being mean to him, so they went to the freezer camp. I put them in some soup. So nobody messes with Buckbeak. If everybody's nice to Buckbeak, they can stay around. But he's grandfathered in, so.
It's funny. What are some things that you have tried that have worked well?
I love canning. I'm actually pretty good at hatching as well. I have hatched and butchered some of our ducks, and I had a pretty great success rate with that. Um, I love jams and jellies. You can't go wrong there. Gosh, honestly, and I don't mean to say this like to sound cocky, but I have not tried a lot that's failed, because like I've tried a lot that's failed once, but I always keep trying until, you know, until it doesn't fail. So
There you go.
overall, I haven't failed on a lot, you know, like I've had jellies that don't set, but you know, I just try again and figure out what was wrong, you know, stuff like that, you know, nothing that I would really call a failure yet, but we're still early in the game, so I know that that's going to come. So catch up with me a little down the road, and I bet I'll have something to add to that list.
I was gonna ask is it beginner's luck, or you've done a bunch of research and so you know how to do these things well in advance, or what's your tips?
I think that it's a mix because, like I said, I do have a lot of experience with some of it. I was always very hands on and just right alongside of, you know, my mom and doing everything. And she would can a ton, and we butchered chickens and processed meat. And, you know, so a lot of that comes from my childhood. But of course, um, I also have to do my fair share of research. But I also think that, you know, really anybody can do anything these days. You know, there's so much information out there, and I can go to, you know, 5 different platforms and watch a million different videos of, different people doing the same thing, you know. So if you really want to learn to do something these days, there's really no reason that you can't, you know. I think that's why like I get so excited to try new things, because it's like there's just a world of possibilities out there, you know, and it's all right there at your fingertips. So I'm like, you might as well take advantage of it.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge you've faced so far?
Oh man, I think it's been in our heads expecting to get to our finished product faster. We really thought that we would, you know, have our septic system in by now and our indoor bathroom done by now. Like, we definitely did not expect for it to be 2.5 years and still not have our inside bathroom done. But, you know, as much as getting our house done is a priority, it's also a priority for us to get debt free. You know, the biggest thing for us is to have as little money going out as possible, you know, because that's going to make it so much easier for us to keep that money and get done what we need to get done. So, yeah, I think it's just been kind of adjusting our expectations, you know, and realizing that we've got other stuff over here, you know, from before we made our changes that we've got to deal with as well. So we have to remember that that also has to be a priority, unfortunately, until it's at least a lot lower, you know. And we've made a lot of progress and we're getting a lot closer. So like I said, there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm just kind of sucking it up for now.
Are you guys doing the septic and the bathroom yourselves?
So the septic, you actually legally cannot put in your own septic here in Tennessee. So we have to get a permit. It's actually the only thing we have to have a permit for out here is the septic system. So we'll do that, and then we'll have to have somebody come out and put the septic in for us. But other than that, my husband's planning on doing it pretty much all by himself.
Gotcha.
Him and I, you know, I'm not a lot of help. I hold a board here and there. I'm gonna be honest. He's definitely the head honcho as far as you know, the building and you know.
Yeah. What's the septic system cost these days? Like 15 grand? More? 20?
Well, no, when we were looking into it, we got a quote from a guy that said that most likely out here it would be anywhere from like 8 to 15.
Okay.
So we're hoping to be more on the 8 end, but you know, you never know until they come out and do it. It was the same way with the well, you know. They say the same thing with the well. It could be 6 grand, could be 20 grand, you know. So, and it definitely ended up, it was a little bit more than we had planned on, but it was not as bad as it could have been. So
what was the price per foot when you put your well in?
I can't remember. I wish I could remember. It's been like 2 years ago. I think I want to say total we ended up paying like 8 grand for it. So I'm not sure how deep it ended up being or whatever, but we have water. That's all that matters. That was our first big investment. We wanted to be sure that we had water there. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
When we put our well in almost 3 years ago, I think now, it was about $40 a foot, and we had to go 325 feet deep.
Oh my goodness.
So whatever that math is, a lot. Now it's, I think it's close to $80 a foot now out here. $80 a foot for somewhere between 70 and 80. I think 80 was the highest I've heard so far. But
well, better thick gold too. I mean, I want gold flecks in my water for $80 a foot.
Best I can do is a lot of iron. So
dang it.
Yeah, we have a lot of filters. That's what's making a bunch of noise behind me is the room behind me that has all the filters and stuff in it. But because when we first turned on our hydrant, like it was like brown water.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Mhm.
Oh.
Our water is actually really good out there. Like we do have a little bit of sediment and stuff in it, but it's really good water. You can't beat it. I hate all other water now.
Yeah, I can't drink my parents' water in the city. It tastes terrible.
Yeah, weird. It just tastes weird.
It does taste weird. It must be the fluoride.
Yeah, yep.
Um,
Resorted.
what's the best part about homesteading?
Oh gosh. It's like, and I was thinking about this today. It's so funny because it's very hard, but it feels very normal, like natural. So it just like my mental health feels so much better. Like it just feels like what we are supposed to be doing. So it's gotten me to be home with the kids, which I was at home very rarely before. And we're just spending so much more time outside, which is probably the best thing. When we lived in the city, we rarely were outside. I only saw the outside to walk like to my car to go to work and like from my car into work. Like that was my only outside time. And I wonder why I was, had horrible mental health back then. But yeah, it's like everything's kind of just aligned for us out here. It just feels more right.
Um, if you could go faster, would you?
Yes, absolutely.
Just to move
100%.
things along, just get it done.
Well, to get it done and to get my husband home. Like it's like we've been together for 12 years and I'm not handling the time apart as well, I think, as he is. I'm very codependent and emotional and I want him to be home. So that would definitely be because it's a little sucky in the winter sometimes, but other than that, like I really don't mind our setup as it is. My biggest motivating factor would be just getting him home.
Does it feel like, I'm not sure if he has like a military background or not, but is it kind of like he's almost like deployed?
Yeah, he doesn't have a military background himself, but I actually think about this often because um, it's just like however long he stays at this job or on this schedule, like I did the math today, like he's only home around 60 days a year, and I don't know how. I know military has like really long stints that they're out, but I
Right.
know a lot of them come home and they get to stay home for a while. Like, he's gone for a month and it's, on the fourth day he's gone, so it's like he just gets home just to leave again. Like, and it's I really thought that it would get easier as time goes on, but it's just as time goes on, I want him to leave less. Like it just feels so wrong for him to not be here. It just I never really understood, and it sounds so corny and stupid, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but people call their spouses their other half, and never truly understood that until like he left, and I truly do just feel like incomplete without him here. So if I could, I would do dang near anything to get him home a lot faster.
I think the difference is that you actually enjoy each other's company versus people that are married that don't. Um,
Yeah.
like I said, I get to go home, not to like rub it in your face or whatever. I get
Right.
to go home every
Brag
evening,
about
but
it.
but my wife calls me on my lunch break every day, tells me how the morning's going, and what's like. Usually, it's like how our 2-year-old is acting up, and things like that. But um, because we enjoy each other's company, like it's just we want to be there and like involved in each other's lives. It's not like, okay, yeah, you go do your thing, and I'll be over here. See you when I see you. I guess.
Right.
So,
And that's the norm these days. Like, I feel like it is. And I really am very proud of, having a different kind of marriage in this day and age, having a marriage like you do and like I do with my husband. Like, it's so rare these days, and the fact that I found that and he's out freaking in a semi for 4 weeks at a time, it's like, cruel universe. But, trying to put on the happy face, and he wouldn't be doing it if he didn't know that it was the best thing, so
I'm sure
I'll
he's explored every option to be like, as much as it sucks, this is the best. This is the best we can do for the time being.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And like I said, knowing that what he's doing out there is so hard, like, I figure the least that I can do is like respect that decision, and just trust that it is the best thing, because he's the smartest person I know. So if anybody knows what's best, it's definitely him. So I'll just do my part until we finally get him home.
Yep, that's gonna be. I wish you both luck. It's tough. We had to stay in the NICU earlier this year, and it was after 7 weeks. Thank you. It's by like week 5 or 6, we were just like, and we were, I got to see my wife like every other day, but she was like, she basically didn't leave the hospital. So, and we've got some friends going through it right now, and we're like, we kind of like, we didn't really tell them what to expect, because there is no like prepping somebody for what you're going to go through. You're just going to have to go through it, and it's going to suck. There is no,
oh my God.
You know what I mean? I mean, if friends of yours had to go through a situation like you're going through now, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can prep them for.
No.
It's just terrible to be away.
I actually, and it's nothing like 7 weeks, but we had like a 9-day stay in the NICU with my second son. And so just experiencing that 7 weeks, like I could not even, gosh, it's exhausting. It's even 9 days was freaking exhausting. I can't even imagine how you guys were feeling. That's insane. I'm glad you guys
feel like we got it easy.
Yeah.
I feel like we did anyways. Yeah, our first, our son, he was in the NICU for 10 days. And so there was always for both kids. So my wife is high risk. And so like NICU was always like, that's probably how we're going to go. And so, 10 days, we're like, okay, we went home after 10 days. And then with our daughter this year, we thought, oh yeah, we'll go to the NICU, but maybe a week. Maybe, I'd be surprised if it would be 2 weeks. And then, she just was kind of tiny and wasn't eating, and just like a bunch of other stuff that ended up going on. But I mean, there was the outlook was always positive. Like, we're going to go home. We just don't know when. Whereas other people in the NICU were like, not sure when or if we get to go home. And that, how do you even relate to those people? Like, so
my cousin, actually, it's been a couple of years ago, but she had like a really rare form of twins that were born like, oh my gosh, it was like 24, 25 weeks or something like that. And they were in the NICU for like 4 or 5 months. Like, they were like, it was insane, and like hours away from where she lived, and just like, how do you get through something like that? I like to think I'm that strong of a person, but realistically, I'm probably not. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's with our friends that are in it now. Like, they're in the Ronald McDonald House, as were we, and they're like, I got talking to the dad, and I'm like, so how you doing? He's like, holding in there. I'm like, no, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm sore from sitting in these chairs all the time. The food, the food sucks. It's loaded with carbs, which is not their diet. And
Yeah.
he goes, so then they're going out to eat a bunch, which is a huge, because they're 3, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours away from their house. I don't remember specifically. So
Yeah.
they're not going home.
Right.
So they're just spending tons of money, and I'm like, yeah, the Ronald McDonald House does the best they can, and they just make it like tolerable, not necessarily
Right.
comfortable. But like, what else are they gonna do? Like, they don't have an unlimited budget, so
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's my cousin actually stayed at the Ronald McDonald House too. So they do great things, but I've also heard exactly like you say, it's just very like, basic, like basically just the best they can do. So it's great that you guys had that option though.
yeah. I mean, we're only like 45 minutes away. So like my wife would, which I can't remember if it's like a time thing or a miles thing. I think it's a miles thing. So like if you're under a certain amount, you're not eligible to stay there. But we
Right.
were over that limit, and so she got to stay there, and I would stay like every other night or something like that while still working. And yeah, it was kind of a messed up situation. But I mean, again, we compared to a lot of people, we had it very, very easy, but it still sucks. So
Right. Yeah. No, that doesn't make it any easier for you. That's like, yeah, no, it does not make it any easier to know that other people had it harder. It's still your hardness is very valid.
yeah. So it's kind of like what you guys are going through. So I hope you find ways to make it faster. Just accelerate
Thanks, me
that
too.
timeline.
We're
Get
just,
out of it.
I know, me too. We're trucking along, doing
Nice.
everything we can. So
Did you mean to make that pun?
I did
Trucking
not.
along.
I did not. But as soon as you said that, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
You just
That
got
was not.
trucking on your mind.
Yeah, always a
Always.
trucker anyway. Yeah.
You guys should just, put the homestead up for Airbnb and just have your husband get one of those gigantic cabs and bring the whole family with. Just
Yeah. Oh gosh. That might drive me crazy. I don't know about that. But we do think we're going to here soon maybe figure something out with the kids so that I can like go on like shorter trips with them and stuff. So that'll be nice. Kind of help a little bit.
what kind of, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of situation would that be? Just kind of like a relative that's a babysitter, or
Yeah, so my mom is right here, and if we can catch her, like she travels a lot for work too, but a lot of
oh,
times
gotcha.
if we plan it in advance, like she can stay home. And we've also actually got a really great neighbor that actually stayed with the kids when I went to Hawaii.
Mm.
She just loves the kids, and she's right down the road. So we do actually have a couple of options. So I think it would be possible eventually for me to take a week or two and go ride with them in the truck.
That's awesome. That'd be
Yeah,
fantastic.
you're really nice. Yeah.
Power of community.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm very,
Um,
very lucky to have at least the two of them.
Wrapping up here, what would you tell people that want to get started in homesteading or tiny living or anything?
So mostly I would say no matter how far off you are from like the end goal, because like that's not usually fast, like it's something that usually takes most people even like years of planning. But like you can start and do a lot of stuff from anywhere. There are people doing suburban homesteading that, are growing their own food, even if they live in the city, that are, you know, finding animals that they're able to raise in the city, even if they can't do chickens, most places you can do quail, most places you can do rabbits because they're very quiet. So I think it's imperative to do what you can from where you are. Buy canned stuff and put it under your bed if you need to. Like, I think just being as self-sustainable as you can, because you never know, like we lived it. One day we had two incomes and the next we didn't know how we were going to buy groceries. So it's just, I think it really makes us put the emphasis on being more in control, of something as important as a food source, having water. We saw Mississippi go parts of Mississippi go down and have no water, and they didn't know when it was going to be back. So it just, COVID hit to me, made the most important message, look how fragile this system is.
Oh yeah.
We didn't know if stores were still even going to be open or if there was going to be anything on the shelf. And so I think to live through that and to not use my platform to tell people, look what happened, be sure that if something worse happens, because there's always a good chance that it will, nobody's going to take care of you but you. I think that was very much proved, kind of every man for himself. So I think everybody should do what they can from where they are, just to have a little bit more ability to kind of take care of themselves no matter what happens.
I think that's perfectly said. Love that. But yeah, I appreciate you being here and giving me your time. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to say?
Oh,
'Cause we talked about a lot of stuff.
I was gonna say I don't think so. I think we really touched on everything. You did a good job of hitting on all of the most important aspects of what we're doing. I think you got it all, and I appreciate you having me on. It was fun.
It was fun. We'll have to do a live TikTok eventually. Jeremy's been trying to get me for like months, and I'm like, I want to. Just like everyone else, time limited on time. So
yeah, I actually did one with him not too long ago.
Did you?
Shortly before you reached out to me, yeah, because he had told me that it was right around the time that you guys did your thing. So, yeah, it was really fun. Yeah.
We'll have to schedule that sometime, somewhere, someplace.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we can figure out how to do like a 3-way call with the three of us. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. Well,
yeah.
I will have a link to your TikTok account. Is there any other socials, or is that the only one that you're on?
I have the same handle on Instagram. I don't post over there as regularly. It's more for just like people to message and stuff. So I would say mainly, most of the good stuff is there on TikTok.
All right. Awesome. Sounds good, Jess. Thank you again for being
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Good luck.
It was great meeting Jess and learning more about how she operates her homestead, working towards being debt-free and producing more of her own food. And honestly, very inspirational just to sell the house and just go live in our future travel trailer. Quit trying to have your foot in both rooms, just do it. But that's just, personally what I got out of that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video. You can use Fountain FM podcast player, get paid in Satoshis just for listening. Other podcast players work too. You can find us everywhere. Visit our website, FarmHopLife.com. Sign up for an email list or Telegram channel to be notified when new videos, interviews, and podcasts are available. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, MeWe, and Float. Email me anytime, matt@FarmHopLife.com. Go to FarmHopLife.com/20x23 to learn more about our 20 by 23 project, where we're going to visit 20 homesteads in the year 2023. I'm always looking for new people to interview. If you want to come on to talk about homesteading, farming, food security, homeschooling, regenerative agriculture, alternative building methods, or something else, shoot me a message, FarmHopLife.com/guest, or suggest someone else to be on the show. But don't fill out the form for them. They have to do that. And go feed yourself.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy, out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana, left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started FarmHopLife. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and there